You left your hood to come here to get it popping.
Yeah.
Instead of, you had Jamaica, but you came to Harlem to get it popping. So I say that to say Dr. Horn, just off camera when we was talking, he said, okay, it's a brother, Winston James, wrote a book called Holding Aloft the Banner of Ethiopia, Caribbean Radicalism in Early 20th Century America. Which kind of, so now like when I read his tape, now I gotta read his tape.
Man, that's an interesting thing. Man, I actually came across a sister I was talking to who's a social scientist. I learned from her that actually the term African American is only reserved for, I guess, for lack of a better word, Black Americans that are descendants of chattel slavery, and that the correct term for even like, let's say immigrants who come here from Africa is their country American. That's the actual correct term for them race-wise. So when I thought about the Caribbean, it made me kind of think about like how.
Yeah, I first heard African American from Jesse Jackson. Season 2 of Gentleman's History Hour is sponsored by HughRepublic.com, HUERepublic.com. Go to HughRepublic.com and get the latest colors to rep your hue. Gentleman's History Hour, Season 2. Now throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you like fish and grits and all that pimp-ish, everybody let me hear you say, oh yeah.
I got my Bob kind of West Coast, but you know what I'm saying? It's the same spirit.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner I go by the name of Equality, EQUALITY, at Equality Hugh.
Hey, it's Righteous Cipher born. Oh, I can only share their name with my son. I took an oath. I can only share the name with my son. So it's Rob J10X. You know what I'm saying?
Rob J10X, what's up, my bro?
Hey, coolin', brother, man.
What's happening, man? It's a lot going on, man. It's a lot going on in the world. We podding today, y'all. So you ready, man? You got your
man,
pod head on. This is for the first time viewers. This is Gentleman's History Hour.
Yes, sir.
Just to let y'all know. So
man, we got a nice mergence of pop culture and moments that will go down in history right now. With the whole, obviously we got Smackgate, and and which tragically overshadowed the fact that Questlove, Samuel L. Jackson, and even Steph Curry won Oscars. But there's a lot going on in the culture right now.
So with that being said, man, I want to ask you to just get right into it, man. Is pop culture starting to overshadow history?
Yeah, because it's overshadowing. I mean, you look at it just like the Oscars, right? It's overshadowing historic moments. It's overshadowing Will Packer. Shout out to FAMU, a fellow alumni. Hey, also Film Society president. I actually held down at that organization after he graduated. But yeah, I mean, like it's overshadowing like some really historic accomplishments with just the sensationalized pop culture side of it.
Yeah, you had the first, for the ladies out there, we just had Women's History Month.
Yeah,
so I got the first Black Supreme Court nominee. Well, she's
our official tissue now,
officially, right? Yeah. So but. That's gonna go down in the history books, but when we start thinking about around this time period, I think it's gonna be more pop culture stuff that overshadows a lot of the historical stuff. And and we've had our critiques in the past on pop culture and the influence that it has on culture, period. But now I'm like, man, we gotta really take the time to really, really document when historical moments. And when I say historical moments, I'm kind of even tired of the first all the time. When the first Black, just history, history period. Because for us, man, it's just essential that we document our own history.
Yeah,
and we always say that so nobody else will come and try to tell our side of the story. But one thing about these outlets, man, we got way more pop culture outlets than we do history type outlets, man.
Most definitely. And and I like what you said about the first thing too, because at the same time, if we're not careful, we could become some firstaholics, man. And we just really be just it's not about it being. I mean, being a first is a milestone, but it's about it. Like, to me, the person's accomplishment is bigger than them being first. or you know, whatever it is, you know, hey, you know, I think to your point, not only do we have more outlets, I think we are becoming a very easily distracted in the historic moment. So like it's a bigger story.
In the historic moments or in the pop culture moments, we're becoming distracted.
Well, I think the pop culture element overshadows the history, the historic moment, or you know, like it might be even something if it's, you know, the Supreme Court nominee's Caucasian husband, that becomes a story that is bigger than the actual. I won't say bigger, but to a segment of us, that becomes a whole detour. So now we're not looking at the history or the legal expertise or things that she may bring to the court. We're looking at her, you know, Edomite husband. You know, so you know, it's like I feel like we just get so sidetracked sometimes. You know, in the culture today.
Well, that's why we here, man.
Yeah, you know.
You know, I'm not one of those people that complain about stuff without offering a valuable solution.
Yeah.
And that's me looking at the camera, giving my plug for Gentleman's History.
Hey, most definitely. And you know what? I done freed myself too, man. I used to want to be, you know, user friendly and easy to watch, you know. And, you know, Shorty was telling, she like, Rob, why are you so difficult? I said, because I'm a difficult man. So this show is not, hey, it's a difficult watch. If you're not really willing to engage in some deep level history, then hey, it might not be an easy watch. It's not Breakfast Club, you know. So at the end of the day, hey, it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, we try to sprinkle in. excuse me. We try to sprinkle in a little pop culture every now and then.
Yeah, most definitely.
And related to history in some kind of way. But I guess I look at it like if you really trying to stick out in the pantheon of time, you know, like you always say, it's 1,000,001 conversations going on about top MCs.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like it's been exhausted.
Man.
You know, talking about whatever mute, and I guess because we live in a time where we consider black culture hip hop.
Yeah.
For some reason, we associate black culture with hip hop.
Most definitely.
So everything is more hip hop related. So it's like, you know, you check your algorithms and it's like, oh, what did such and such say? Oh, such and such did this, and then such and such has this new album. But with that being said, I know it's a lot of new music that comes out. Yeah. But I'm an old book guy.
Hey, man.
And, you know, people I get questions from time to time about, you know, certain kind of books.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a music guy too, but I'm a book guy also. So, you know, just to let y'all know, these ain't new releases.
Yeah.
These are some of the classics, man. But one book I've really been getting on, The Crisis of the Negro Intellectual by Harold Cruz. This book was written in 1967.
Okay.
You know, Harold Cruz is a professor, but one of the topics that or chapters rather that I really been getting into is Capitalism Revisited, 1963. And I'm not gonna get into it too heavy. We'll talk about it on another time. But it really makes me relate stuff that was going on then to now, because I always try to find a link. When it comes to history, I'm always looking at it from the perspective of, okay, how does this relate to now? So I don't dwell in the past. I like nostalgia to a certain extent, but I don't like to live in it.
Man.
You know, same thing with history, man. I like to learn from it and understand, like, how did we get to where we are, man, from history.
You know, speaking of history, you know, I've been reading, not a black author, but it's Robert Greene. I've been reading The Laws of Human Nature probably for about a year now. But I read a chapter that really stood out to me over the past couple weeks about being careful of not conforming to groups. And what he referenced in the chapter was the Chinese Cultural Revolution.
Okay.
And the way he broke down how basically, you know, the groups that were formed that were really necessarily counterculture winded up actually becoming the exact same thing that they were revolting against.
They were going against.
You know, it kind of makes you start thinking about, like, you know, a lot of times maybe some of the stuff going on with, like, you know, BLM, you know, whether it's like, you know, buy live mansions or, you know, whatever. You know, it's kind of like some of the it kind of broke down, like, just how groups really bring this conformity of you know, identifying with the group philosophy, the same quest for power.
Everything they fought against, they become.
Yeah.
Live all the way live. I bet you never knew that Houston. We in the house. So where we from? Houston.
This is Flash Gordon Parks. You're listening to Soul One. Peaceofmind.com.
Everything they fought against, they became. Like, and it was a really interesting chapter. If anyone has that book, I think it's like chapter 9.
What's the name of it again?
The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. And outside of that, I've been I done went down this Thomas Sowell rabbit hole. And Thomas Sowell is he's a black economist from Harlem. Has a lot of ideas that, Thomas Sowell was one of the people who introduced the flaws in Alex Haley's roots. Like, the fact that,
he's very controversial.
You're very controversial. And people say you got to be careful because his mouthpiece is so cold, So I try not to just go into it with just, everything he's saying without thinking about it critically. But he's been making some points that really open my eyes,
One thing about what I'm learning with books in history, and it's going to get me to the other book I'm going to talk about, is that you study what you agree with, and then you also study what you may not agree with, or you study what let's say Thomas Sowell, what he may have wrote about, and then you got to find, okay, how do I look and see, okay, is this correct? All right, let me go and do some studying off of what I read from what he said, because a lot of it is some stuff is fact-based, but some stuff is subjective. Like we were talking about pre-show. In this day and age, you can justify. It's enough information overload so you could justify anything you believe in.
Most definitely. I will say, I had a unique opportunity to discuss one of his points with a Carnegie Mellon student, and Carnegie Mellon is like right up there at MIT.
I believe.
Yeah, especially for tech. One of Thomas Sowell's points is that affirmative action, in many cases, even though we know white women are the greatest beneficiary of it, a lot of times what is done to black students really has been a disservice because it's put them in programs that really they weren't adequately equipped for, when they could have had stellar academic careers had they been placed in something like that. So the conversation was a really dope talk, was about, let's say you take a student from Yates who graduates, he's top of the class, he wants to study computer science, but he's never built anything, never been to a code camp, and you send him to MIT. You send him to MIT with a kid from straight Jesuit who's been going to coding camp since he was in 7th grade, who's built, who has 3 or 4 applications in the App Store. And now you have the kid from Yates and the kid in the same program. Is that really servicing the kid from Yates to put him in MIT? And I was like, I hated to say it, but I feel like no. I feel like that's not. I feel like that's almost suicide academically, because you're starting so far behind. That's kind of a Thomas Sowell point. But by the just shout out to Clubhouse, I happen to be having this talk with a black student at Carnegie Mellon who's a computer science student, and he talked about the level that they're starting at, like before freshman year starts, they're coming in at. So it's a lot of new interesting thoughts that I've been really being exposed to.
It's a lot of because he's still alive. He's an older guy too.
Yeah,
it's a lot of interviews with him And like I said, he's a good case study, man, in economics, and it'll lead you down a rabbit hole because you want to know, okay, how much of what he's saying is you can fact check. Even these scholarly guys, man. I read these books. You gotta fact check.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Now with Harold Cruz, he had a chapter in the Crisis of the Negro Intellectual called 1920s, 1930s West Indian Influence. And we had the honor and pleasure of having Dr. Horn,
Most definitely.
professor of African American Studies at U of H. He was one of the guests on our shows. And just off camera, we talked about this book. I brought up The Crisis of the Negro Intellectual, Harold Cruz. And we were talking about the Caribbean influence, 1920s, 1930s. In particular, you know, like the Garvey, people like Garvey coming from Jamaica, Claude McKay, people like that leaving Jamaica and coming here.
Okay.
That's a topic that I do want to put on a list for future shows.
Okay.
Just that it's kind of like you left your hood to come here to get it popping.
Yeah.
Instead of you had Jamaica, but you came to Harlem to get it popping. So
yeah.
I say that to say Dr. Horn, just off camera when we was talking, he said, okay, it's a brother Winston James wrote a book called Holding Aloft the Banner of Ethiopia, Caribbean Radicalism in Early 20th Century America. Which kind of, so now like when I read his take, now I got to read his take.
Man, that's an interesting thing. Man, I actually came across a sister I was talking to who's a social scientist. I learned from her that actually the term African American is only reserved for, I guess, for lack of a better word, Black Americans that are descendants of chattel slavery, and that the correct term for even like, let's say immigrants who come here from Africa, is their country American. That's the actual correct term for them race-wise. So when I thought about the Caribbean, it made me kind of think about like how.
Yeah, I first heard African American from Jesse Jackson.
Rainbow Man.
He said African Americans. Remember, it was Negro. We had all those different names. Now speaking of Dr. Horn, good brother Musa Bay, aka Freddie Jones, esteemed guest. Friend, very, very close friend of the show. Got me this book from a born day, Jazz and Justice. It's written by Gerald Horn.
Oh, nice.
And the book is it's almost written like just like a stream of consciousness, just documenting the gangster side of jazz.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, it documents the music industry, but man, we talk about hip hop, but you start reading some of these stories from these jazz musicians and the money and the mob. Yeah. The mob money, the racism. Man, it's pretty heavy. And then so I brought these three books just because Gerald Horn, and from talking to Gerald Horn and talking about the crisis of the Negro intellectual, I learned about holding aloft the banner of Ethiopia. So it's kind of like this combination. And then Mesa Serre, just dude is writing on colonialism. Mesa Serre is a poet, scholar, spoke French. His discourse on colonialism is kind of similar to Frantz Fanon and Richard and Earth. Small book, but just for all my scholars out there, man, Mesa Serre is he's a poet, like I said, poet, scholar, well-read brother. It's kind of like a little pocketbook. It's kind of referred back to, man. But that's just part of, like I said, it's like music, man. I try to keep certain things in the rotation to where you can have those same conversations. If we were talking about, yo, man, the new Tana Talk 4 came out.
Most definitely.
Benny album, It'd be like, yo, okay, I read the such and such book, man. What you like? Yo, what chapters do you like? Yo, chapter such and such. That's my joint.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely.
Having those conversations and
as a man, you want your mind to be full of knowledge and information, and you want your mind to be a museum. So when you having in conversation, when you discussing things with people. I mean, I'll never forget. I met a young lady. She wound up, being my girlfriend for a season. But what happened was Chinese New Year. 4 seasons. You know what I'm saying? A season and a reason.
Y'all
You
had
know,
a 16 game schedule.
hey, we had a season together.
She made the playoffs.
Hey, nah, she was. Shit. Look, I wanted to re-sign. You know, the team franchise said, hey, they gave him the Baker Mayfield play.
Oh,
so I was
man,
like,
gotcha.
I had to go move on.
Gotcha.
But what stood out to her when I first met her was it was Chinese New Year. I said, okay, you from here? She said, yeah, I moved back. You know, I went after school. I said, where'd you go? She said, Wharton. I said, oh, Wharton, the only Jewish founded Ivy League. Now, once I said that, oh my God, black man, you know. So it's like we gotta feed our mind, and not just for women, but just in general. You know, we should be striving to be, you know, full of knowledge, full of wisdom, full of, you know, application, you know, tools, resources. That's what make us really, you know, godlike men, in my opinion, you know.
Yeah, so, man, you gotta be able to go both ways, man. You know, I want to be able to shoot the shit and talk about, you know, you kind of keep your ear to the street on what's going on, and then you also keep your ear to the historical side, and like you said, man, feeding your mind like you feed your body. It's a diet.
Most definitely.
What you put in your body reflects what you put on the inside reflects on the outside. Same thing with your mind. What you put inside, it'll reflect on the outside as well. But I had a question, man. I was thinking about that I don't think we've ever really talked about on the show, and then we talking about these older books is generational gaps, man. Young, older. We've had the pleasure of having guests like, you know, Uncle Lloyd. We talked about genealogy. We've had the pleasure of talking to Dr. Horn. We've had the pleasure of talking to City Councilman, Brother Pollitt. Yeah, you know, we've talked to different people, man, and I really wonder, man, sometimes with the younger, I mean, like the 20-somethings, man, like that, 'cause I'm so far away from that world. Man, what's your opinion on like, you know, with the content that we have and how to get a younger generation into it?
First off, man, I want to give a shout out to my young boy Corey, man.
Shout out to Corey.
Yeah, his name is Corey, man.
Shout out to Corey.
OU graduate, Omega, man. We met each other playing chess, and we just a friendship, you know, just really blossomed. He's a solid brother, and I ain't gonna lie, like having a 29-year-old friend has like added value to my life, you know, because I forgot like that youthful energy. He's a mature guy, but he at the same time he be putting me up on so much stuff that I don't know about, because I'm like, shit, I'm 10 years older than him. So I think the youth, I think they definitely, there's a segment of them that do have a burning desire, like even Chug, Stogies and Bow Ties. These are young brothers that have a burning desire to, you know, be a contributor to, you know, the culture, and leave their impact. And these guys have a lot of humility. One thing about it, like I feel like that generation doesn't get enough credit for is the humility. Like a lot of them, I don't do the whole big bro thing because I just believe in equality. Like I believe in, like, you know,
you don't believe in having an OG?
Man, maybe in my own ego and stuff, I really never had an OG. So I just always believed in friends. Yeah, I had older friends, I had younger friends. So like I never really looked at someone like, but they'll come on, big bro, all this. And I always tell them, man, no, we friends, man. I'm not your big bro. We friends. But like a lot of them are respectful. They now where maybe some of the challenges are is they may not necessarily have an entry point, you know, where it's like, because it can be overwhelming. You know, I remember like this journey for me started when you and Marcus at Breakfast Club and Jason were talking about Du Bois versus Booker T. I didn't know what y'all were talking about. And
the philosophies and opinions and
it was the philosophy that. But see, my ego just, I never had been in a situation, in an intellectual situation, where I couldn't participate. You know, so that's the first time in my life I've been in a room with people talking about something.
Inspired you?
Yeah, it was like, hold up, because I've been in a room with people from Stanford, people from all across, and I've never been in a room where I felt like, man, these people are intellectually superior to me. But y'all were having a conversation, I couldn't participate because I didn't have any information. So like that was kind of like my trigger, but it's it could be overwhelming, you know. So I think for them, maybe just providing them the endpoints, because I do think there's a segment of young sisters and young brothers that are hungry, that have a burning desire, you know.
Now, I said that, and I'm almost about to contradict myself a little bit, because I had the pleasure of going out to check out a real talented hip hop artist in Houston, Flygger Woods.
Okay, yeah, man.
He had an album release. He had a show. That's a young, dope MC from Houston for all of the people that's watching. And I was in that world. You know, he called me OG. He's like, man, appreciate you, you know, coming out, OG. And he was telling his homeboy, Rodeo Joe, that's another MC, about the podcast. But it wasn't like he just said it. He's like, man, I watch it, and he's like, I watch it multiple times to pick up on it. So it felt good to see a younger cat, man, that met me through music. Yeah. But now he's seeing another side of me. Yeah. And now he's able to express that, because it's like each one teach one, like we always say. Most definitely. It's one of those things where, you know, you learn it, and then the next person gets inspired, and then they you know, so to have that to where I can see a Flygger Woods 10 years from now doing something similar to this. You know what I'm saying? Guys definitely. Like that, like, you know, being inspired by the music, but then also being inspired by the stuff outside of just the music. Like you can lure people in with the music, definitely. And then once you do that, you take them on a different journey. Because the easy out would have been for us to have a music podcast.
Man, most definitely. And I think also, man, I really appreciate the youngins. Like I had a talk with Hood Star Chance today, and I told him, you know, hey, I want to drop a gangster album, because my whole thing was we need to remove the suspension of disbelief, because it can either be one way or the other way. It can't be both ways, right? So either we remove the suspension of disbelief, or, you know, people gonna keep dying over rap. So why not? Hey, I'm gonna make a gangster. He's like, man, you can't make a gangster album. You don't. That wouldn't be. And he had this certain pride in what the culture of the streets and what it meant to be the things that he is and everything, and what he had went through and what he had paid dues and did. And I told him, you know, this is more of a thought experiment than me literally want to do this. But I was like, but I really appreciated the fact that guys would hear me out, you know what I'm saying, on this idea, and actually let me think my way through it, and really kind of help really facilitate some ideas that I think may address problems, you know, and the respect and the, you know.
So you're gonna be a gangster rap? What's your rap name gonna be? Is it still gonna be Rob J 10X, or you gonna? Hey man, probably be 10. It's gonna be satire, or are you really gonna be like?
You know, the thing about it, what we concluded was like, I don't know how I could make a gangster album without saying messages that I don't support. So that's the only thing that would stop me from being able to do it, you know. But like, I felt like though, if we make rap, basically we just take the authenticity, we take the whole needing to be it away from it. It made, because what inspired this was the fact that, you know, FBG Duck and Billionaire Black had went to their label and turned in an album, and the label people told them, "Nah, make some more of those diss songs." It wasn't FBG Duck who, you know, some of that, like, you know, dead bitches and all them stuff. The label encouraged that. So I'm like, damn, if the label is weaponizing the music against it, you know, it just was like, maybe just try to brainstorm on what's the most radical idea I could think of to disarm that.
But that's been going on, man. They've been doing that since the beginning of time. Record label is there to make money, and whatever makes money is it. What shit? They didn't want Marvin Gaye to put out What's Going On. That was at that time. Barry Gordy was like, "What the hell are you doing? You gonna sabotage your career until it's over."
Live all the way live. I bet you never knew that Houston. We in the house. So where we from? Houston.
This is Flash Gordon Parks. You're listening to Soul One. PeaceOfMind.com.
But then also I just want to let the people know, man, with this, and this is a personal connection to the youth, man. My son is 16, and he's used some inspiration from some of our shows, man, for his debate competitions.
Oh, that's awesome.
And for some of his papers at school.
Oh, that's tight.
So,
man,
you know, it's always cool to see it, you know, happening right there in front of you. And I don't you know, a lot of stuff I keep close to the, you know, to the vest. So I don't really expose my son out publicly a lot like that, because, you know, our time is our time. No, I don't
See,
I don't want to be a
like
personal paparazzi.
No, but I like, you know what, you really
You know
kind
what I'm
of
saying?
seeing you as a father, because not only are you a father to your son, you like a consultant to me for understanding my dad sometimes, you know what I'm saying? It really kind of bridging that. Well, he didn't really mean that, you know, but like one thing I learned from you, and I really believe maybe one day I'll take forward with, you know, Rob the Fifth. I want to be a selfish dad, man. I want to be, man, y'all don't get to see my son. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in the lab with my creation, man, until, you know, because I think, like, man, it's just the polar opposite.
You want it to be, you know, it's kind of like celebrating the big victories, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, I get it, because we live in a social media era, and people just want to say, my kid made 4 B's and 2 C's. And in my house, I'm like, that's cute. Yeah. you know what I'm saying? But if I was putting certain stuff out there, man, it would really, you know, it would look like a lot of cap. You know what I'm saying? So
most definitely.
I keep certain stuff in the tuck. So when the big, hey, we like Alabama, man. It's national championship every year. That's the expectation.
Hey, man, I like that.
We don't celebrate the little small bowl victories, man.
Man, I like that, man. You know, normalize. Normalize. You know, academic excellence, man.
We don't celebrate the McDonald's bowls and the little small. You know, every year, man, 9th grade through 12th grade, it's national championship. National championship, that's straight A's across the board.
Man, I like that. I like that, man.
That's how we rock.
Nah, that's real. You know? That's real. And man, you know, one of the things I was talking to one of my boys from the neighborhood, man. We was talking about growing up, and I was one of them kids, man. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like my first 13 years of life, I got it right, man. I was walking around the neighborhood. I'm gonna be a virgin till I get married. I'm talking about the whole hood showed up to Lily Grove when I got baptized. Whole hood was there. And I was talking about like, where I had to like, but you know, one thing that I was looking back, I was like, man, I wish I would have pushed myself to the limit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm great. I'm thankful that I went to FAMU and everything like that. But I do kind of wonder, like, man, hey, you know, could I have been the coldest person at Stanford? Could I have been the cold? You know what I'm saying? And not that I need justification from another university, but just the limitless thinking of, you know what I'm saying? Hey, you know, we love FAMU, Morehouse, Howard, this, that, and the other, but like, hey, we're not limited to that either. You know, we can start, you know, we're not limited to.
And we're not limited to just having to go to a university or a college, man. Like, we forget the trades, man. We push this academia where you go to school and you end up in debt and you barely can get a job that can cover the debt of your college tuition that you paid, and we don't celebrate the the brothers that and the sisters that go to trade school that develop the entrepreneurship
Yeah.
to start their own businesses, man. They become plumbers and they become electricians and they learn HVAC work and then they start their own business and then they live just as good or better than the person with 3-4 degrees that they done went to these Ivy League schools and somebody just taught them something out of a book.
Yeah,
And
like
you
shout
say,
out to Brother Melick, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
exactly,
We're gonna have to
man,
get him
brothers like
on.
that.
Now
Yeah.
Melick does have a 4-year degree, but still, like, man, he doubled down on any trade, any skill. And the thing about the trades is you can try it, and if you don't lose interest in it, it didn't cost you $30,000. You know, like a lot of these trainings don't even cost you anything, but you could.
Hey, in the autobiography of Malcolm X, man, he said, hey, he got a prison education, man, because he went to the library.
Man,
I got my library card was just as valuable as that high dollar education that you got. Unless, for me, if you're going into the technical field where you need that,
yeah,
then cool.
Most definitely.
But, and I know people may disagree with me, man, but if you're going to school for liberal arts or something like that, good luck.
Man, it's gonna be tough, you know. But at the same time, I do think there's a place for passion, but I think that's something just to be a true passion. And I ain't gonna lie, like in a perfect world, all things equal, hey, salary gonna be the same no matter what. I go study philosophy. Now, does that mean I shouldn't go study philosophy now? You know, that's kind of
you got the hands of a poet and a philosopher.
Hey man, I got some. Hey bro, I got some.
But
you know,
from the historical standpoint, that goes into the context to the Booker T, W.E.B. Du Bois debate that you said you were inspired by.
Yeah, most definitely.
The going to school studying philosophy, that was on a W.E.B. Du Bois type level. Concentrating on the trades was on the Booker T. Washington level.
Most definitely.
And there were pros and cons on each level, but I think what we're supposed to do as the seeds is look at and study the philosophies of both and improve on.
That's the part, like the improving on part. And I see that's the part that transcends race. You can even go to like the Nietzsche's of the world who said, like, we're not supposed to just worship the people who came before us, but to try to build on it. One of my personal, narratives that I'm in development of with now is like basically, I feel like as black men, we kind of parked at this alpha male. And I think like there's a level past that, there's a level of divine masculine, there's a level of manhood past just, submission of a one. Like I feel like we really, can go.
Man, there's a level of action, man. All that talking.
Yeah, man.
Never talking. My thing is, hey man, show it to me.
Man, most definitely.
You can masculine me out with all that talking, man. But show me, man. Just it's Missouri, man. It's the show me state, man. Just live it. When you living it. Man, when you live in it, you ain't got to talking, man. Yeah, hey, man, gangsters move in silence, right?
Hey, man, hey, bro, I ain't never seen a guy who's having his way with the ladies participate in a 50-50 debate. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
who's gonna pay for what?
Man, that type of stuff. Like, so I think, man, we just got so much. Man, I think we just had so much potential, so much room for growth. But in one thing, going back to the research that day, one thing I will give my dad credit and props for. The one thing that was instilled in me was the ability to self-educate, the ability to go back and like if you have interest in a subject, go and just start building blocks from there. And I think that's one of the, to me, that should be one of the foundations of all education is to empower the learner with the ability to self-educate. Because then you could, hey, I was interested in code. It wasn't scary to me to pick up a 600-page book on PHP. It was just a book that, so I think like that part too, we don't have to, I think sometimes we be so caught up in someone else having the answer and it's like, you God.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
For me, man, I guess sometimes I'm a little harder on the younger generation, man. 'Cause at 19, man, I was already hitting the books. I'd already started changing my diet.
Yeah, you hardcore, man. Man, brothers ain't built like that. I ain't built like you.
It's never too late.
Nah, most definitely, that's real.
The thing. It's never too early. Yeah, and it's never too late because some people start so early and then they burn out.
Yeah, that's real.
Before you know it, they grew up a certain way, and they had the culture like pressed on them so much that they rebel once they get older because they like, oh man, I'm tired of hearing about that. I don't want locks no more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go straighten my hair.
Yeah,
and
nah,
there
I
are
feel
people
you on
that they went the opposite, and then they go super on the deep end.
Man, yeah,
So,
that's
it's about finding that balance in the middle. I think, for the younger people watching the show, and as well as the adults, man, trust and listen to the youth. They'll tell you what they want and what they need, and then for the old heads, man, we don't have to try to be cool to be accepted by the youth. Man. You got to think the leaders that we talk about on this show and in history and stuff like that, like, they had the younger people were looking up to them.
Most
Huey and them was looking up to Malcolm.
Yeah.
It wasn't like now, because we associate black culture with hip hop so much, and hip hop is a youth driven culture, we think everything has to be driven by youth influence, as opposed to the youth having an appreciation for the wisdom of the person that came after them, and the older person having an ear to listen to the youth.
Nah, that's real.
That's my TED Talk for the day, man.
Hey, man, I could say this, man, this is fact. You can ask anybody from Hunters Glen to FAMU. I've been me my whole life. I ain't never tried to be nobody else. I ain't never wanted to be nobody. You could ask anybody. If they knew me at Lanier, they knew a 12-year-old version of the man today. Yeah. If they knew me at FAMU, they knew a 19-year-old
But
version.
mentally, you still want them to feel like you've grown, though.
Yeah, I've grown, but I never wanted to be nothing that I see. To me,
you don't want to stay stagnant. You don't want to be that.
So to me, celebration of your own individuality is what I feel like a lot of us are missing. It's like, hey, everybody is dope. Everybody is dope. Like, it's not really, there really is no such thing as an uninteresting person. It's just really like people that really just haven't flushed out their character. It's something dope about everybody, man. Like, so that's my TED Talk.
It's about evolution and growth to me, man. What they say, the GDs, growth and development.
Yeah, growth and development. So,
it's always that growth and development, man. Like, as long as you're allowed to live on this earth, man, and the knowledge is here and it's there, man, why not develop that diet, man? Sit back, read the book. Hey, have those conversations, man. Let's bring that back, man. Having good intellectual dialogue, good intellectual conversation. But before we wrap it up, now we want to keep our word. Season 2, you said you had a book giveaway.
Oh yeah, hey, we did. I do got the Carter G. Woodson.
Anybody that can DM the GHH on IG, the answer. We want the name of the first book that Carter G. Woodson wrote. The total name, the whole name, the first book that Carter G. Woodson wrote, and what year that he wrote it. First person that can DM us that on the GHH Instagram.
Yeah, we're blessed with the book. Hey, you gotta follow us too, though. You can't be a non-follower.
Yeah. You gotta follow us, and you gotta be a subscriber.
You follow, subscribe.
It's for the family, man. It's for the people that watch the show, man. I look at like y'all are fam, man, and we really appreciate y'all, man. We really do. But yo, man, I didn't say everything I need to say, man,
likewise
on today. So, yo, Equality,
Rob J10X,
and we got Savvi in the back working the boards. Throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you like fish and grits and all that pimp-ish, everybody let me hear you say, oh yeah. Peace.
Ball is life.
If you're watching this on YouTube, man, hey, y'all, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. This is Gentleman's History Hour.